Well, the first thing I'd want to start with to share with the people is that today is the first day of the rest of your life. You know, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I think about what that means, and it really has two implications I think are very helpful for my mindset. That first part means that it has to deal with your past, right? Today is the first day of the rest of your life means something as regards your past. And it means that your past is gone. It's done with, right? This is the first day of the rest of your life. And so maybe the past has some mistakes, maybe it has some failures. All of ours does, regrets. And that's okay. That's dealt with at this point. It's in the past. It's only in the present if we want to drag it there with us. But we don't have to, right? Because today is the first day of the rest of our life. And I think as regards health and wellness, this is an important concept. I speak with some people a lot of times and they'll say, well, I tried to lose weight, many times before and it didn't work out. Or I tried to start going to the gym, it didn't work out. I tried to get strong and accomplish some goals and it didn't work out. Well, we can stay then giving up and defeated on into the future, where we can say, hey, today is the first day of the rest of my life. Let me try again in a different way with a new approach, maybe with some coaching, with some new facilities, with a new mindset, and find that success and find that difference that we want, So it's important to be able to wrap things up and put them to bed, so to speak. And we can do that today because, hey, it's in the past at this point. It's water under the bridge, and we all need and want a fresh start in life for different reasons and different situations. Failures from relationships or past jobs or whatever, we all want and yearn for that fresh start. And we can give that to ourselves if we realize it. God's given us today a new day. It's the first day of the rest of our life. And it puts things to rest from the past. The second implication I think about that statement that I find is it relates to the future, right? Because we're saying today is the first day of the rest of our life that's about to unfold. And if you think about it, what's your most valuable resource, right? Your most valuable resource is your time. That's your most valuable resource. Money can come and go. Time can't come and go, for example. And so if you think about it, what that means is you will never have more of your most valuable resource than you have today. Right? You'll never be as young as you are today. And so with time comes the ability to change your life. If you make a decision, think about it like a ship. A ship's making a small adjustment in its course, but as you play out time, that small adjustment takes it off to a very different destination. So you'll never have a greater opportunity to make a small adjustment and have that build and grow into something that's dramatically different in your life than you have today. This is your day of maximum opportunity to make an adjustment and have something beautiful and different be created in your future. And so it's a hopeful message as well. It's like, let's not delay any longer. Who do I want to be in the future? What do I want to be? How do I want my life to look differently? Let's get after it today, because I'll never have as much opportunity to affect change and to see something fruitful and different in my life as I will today. So that's what that's meaning to me.
That's great. I think that there's two things that pop to me is that it's kind of forgiveness, right? A person being able to slow down and say, and I always think I think Christians actually kind of have this wrong in the way they approach it. It's like, it's easy to get God's forgiveness.
Yeah.
But it's forgiving yourself and saying, okay, I'm going forward. I'm gonna, God says your sins as far as the east is from the west, but the person, yourself, to be able to actually focus on today as in a new start. In our group, we say this can be the greatest week we've lived so far.
Right.
And because next week's going to be greater. But really, to let go of that past is like this personal forgiveness. And even like you're saying, even for fitness, even for health, it's the same. You have to let go.
Yes.
And it seems to be a major task. The other thing that sounds interesting to me from you is that, you're talking about direction, and people make plans, but it's like if you're going 100 miles an hour and you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're gonna end up. So setting out that plan, how do you do that when you're talking with somebody as far as like, okay, getting that direction so you are going the correct way? What details are involved in that?
Well, ultimately that plan is a little different for each person, but there's commonalities. And when I talk about, let's say, charting a new path in life with a person, I first get at their motivation, like why. Let's say they've got an idea that they need to be, thinner or stronger or have better relationships or something like that. I first want them to get in touch with their motivation, their reason why. So for example, I'll have a patient come in who says, let's say in their 60s, their back's aching them, they're a bit overweight, they used to go to the gym and be in shape, but they just stopped, or they used to have a little walking group of women in the neighborhood and they just stopped a while back and they feel out of shape, sluggish. And they're gonna have to make some changes, right? But to do that, they're gonna need motivation, because change is difficult by definition. We get in a pattern and a habit, and we want to stay there, and we got momentum and inertia, right? So to make a change, we're going to have to bust out of that. Well, to help us bust out, we need emotional motivation. And so I help that person get in touch with what's their motivation, right? Like, tell me why you want to do what you want to do. And they'll end up saying something like, well, I want to just be able to get down on the floor and play with my grandkids, okay? Or I want to be able to take this vacation with my grandkids at Disney World this summer, right? Or I want to be able to sit in the bleachers and watch my grandson play basketball or something without terrible pain, right? And so I get them, really being precise about what their motivation is, and I help them rehearse it to themselves to kind of stoke that energy, because they're going to have to call on that to make their change. So that's one of the first things. And one of the second things is then just getting precise about what changes they want to make and really keeping that in mind. There's different ways to do that. I'm a big fan of 3x5 carts. So let's say that I've asked this elderly grandma to start walking 3 days a week with her neighbor around the block. Okay, I'm gonna like that to be on a 3x5 card on her fridge or on her bathroom mirror or something where she's looking at it every day so she's not forgetting, right? That's also kind of the concept of accountability. It helps if you're gonna tell someone what your goal is or otherwise hold yourself accountable. So you gotta get in touch with your motivation, and you gotta get clear with what your goals are, and just keep those in front of your mind. Like, this is what I'm doing today, and this is why I'm doing it today. And it's like, I can quiz you on that at any given point in time and you can tell me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why with our software we try to have where they have accountability every day, and they have that coach there, because research has proven that you're about 3 times more successful when you do have accountability. Right. Whether it's accountability to yourself, but it does help to have a second person to kind of check you on that. And so that to us is really important. And on your motivation, I think it's so cool what you're saying. I found with people that I work with that they either come to us with purpose, meaning, like you said, I want to accomplish this. I want to get in shape for this reason. They come with that purpose, and they set off towards that purpose. And sometimes it's kind of esoteric in the way it's laid out, but they do have a purpose. Then we have other people come to us that don't have purpose. And it's very interesting. I know from being sick myself, when you get sick, you get to where everybody's caring for you. You have cancer. And my wife used to say, I'm the cancer girl. Everybody looks at me and says, oh, I'm so sorry you have cancer. Can I help you? Can I help you? And everybody's helping them, which is wonderful. But the person starts saying, I don't have any purpose. I'm not helping anybody. I'm not doing anything. Right. And it seems like some of our clients and your patients will go forward, and then they start to gain purpose as they're going down, like you said, that road. Yes. And that's, so it's the motivation starts to almost develop as they go. Do you see that as well?
Sure. I see that, and I think that question of purpose is really vital and important. It comes up a lot. So let's say you need an identity and you need a purpose, right? Other than being sick, for example, in the case of the cancer person, it's like, oh my gosh, I've lost my job that used to give me identity and purpose. I've lost a lot of my social relationships, right? I've lost my recreational activities, let's say, and I feel like I have no other purpose other than to show up and be a cancer patient and just see my doctor all the time, or sleep or something. It's like, what am I living for then? And then it's an existential crisis at that point. It's not just a cancer crisis, it's a crisis of purpose, because as human beings, we all need a reason to get out of bed, and we need a purpose of life, right? So if you feel like the medical circumstances or whatever have changed so greatly, I have to help get the patient back some sense of purpose, to regain it, recreate it somehow, right? Maybe it's not the job, maybe it's not the intramural basketball team or the YMCA basketball team that they used to participate, the bowling league or whatever, because they have their medical problems. We're gonna have to recreate some kind of purpose other than just to show up and be a patient every day, which is what you're saying. And ultimately, the most powerful, I think, and sustaining types of purposes have to do with serving other people. This is like the rocket fuel to the deal, right? If, it's one purpose, it's one thing to say, well, my purpose is going to be to get out of bed and, chop this wood today, because then I'll feel useful. Okay, but how cool is it to say, I'm going to go down and volunteer at the school, to read to the kids, because the teacher doesn't have time in a reading group at my local kindergarten to get to all the kids, but I'm going to sit there, I'm going to be the grandma that goes down and volunteers or reads to the kindergartners, right? Or finding that way in which you're uplifting another person cycles back on you, and you feel very fulfilled, right? Very purposeful. And there's been studies that have been done, I can't quote them exactly, but volunteerism can be as effective as an antidepressant, basically, for people who are seriously depressed. If we get them engaged with some kind of volunteerism in the community, it's as effective as an antidepressant. Yeah.
One of the psychologists that I talked to at Stanford University did research on that and found that it's actually more effective in triggering health than anything. Is actually caring for someone else, and it doesn't have to be big. To your point, it doesn't have to be big. A lot of people will say, "Well, I'm going to conquer the world." I always try to say, "Conquer your world first." Start a spot. And inhabit, like you're saying, within that day, this is a new day, but inhabit that change of like, okay, it's like sometimes, like you said, recreating. But I also think in some cases, it's just opening your mind to what's right in front of you. It may be the one lady at Walmart who can't carry her stuff out to the car. It's one thing. It's just one thing every day. And it's like every day doing a little bit more, and you watch that purpose come back in. And then the directions straighten to where they need to be going. In our 7 elements, we talk about the different things of health, but I like to say purpose is the supernatural one. It's like everything else will get you so far, but until you get purpose, big or small, get purpose. That's the kind of the supernatural one that kind of propels everything. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. I think that's got some real deepness to it that I want to hear from you what that really means, but it's really cool. I just want to hear what you think it means.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a Chinese proverb. I came across it sometime 2-3 years ago. I can't remember where, but it was very deep for me as well, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And it's like, wow, that just hit me, And the first part, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, is saying, we have to be thinking of our future, and you probably should have dealt with something, 20 years ago, and it would be ready and it would be fruitful for you now, and it maybe provokes a little bit of regret in my mind, like, oh goodness, I need to need to have a little more forethought and foresight, on into my future, right? But then the second best time is today. That's meaning, don't sit there and regret, right? Don't sit there and regretting, hey, I don't have this beautiful flowering tree sitting over me right now that's dropping fruit and creating shade, right? It's like, hey man, make a change now, right? You're gonna thank yourself in 20 years. It's kind of like that concept of what if you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self, how to live life and what to do, what would you want to hear he or she be doing, right? Now that you're in your 40s or your 50s, right? And it's like, well, that second best time is today for my next 20-year self. Right? What do I want to create for my future? So instead of just looking back with regret and like coulda, shoulda, woulda, it's like, hey, man, second best time's today. Get on this, right? And to me, that's a call to action. It's really a call to action. And if you think about it, the only day that you can take action is today, right? This is your action day, right? Because yesterday has already happened. You can't take action in yesterday or anything in the past. The future, tomorrow, is just a concept if you think about it. Right? It's just an idea. We're assuming we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and things are going to roll. They probably will, but it's still a concept. You can't take action tomorrow. You can only take action in today. This is your action day, right? And so it's the idea of like seize the day, Carpe Diem, that kind of thing, and take some action today. Then in 20 years, you're going to be thanking yourself for because you have a fruit tree sitting there, enjoying its benefits.
Fantastic.